If you think the DC gaming scene is slowly dying and only survives because of the movies and comics, then I need to say right away that you've probably missed quite a lot of what's been happening throughout 2025 and 2026. DC actually has a surprisingly strong lineup of upcoming and recently released games, ranging from AAA Batman projects and large-scale mobile strategy titles with massive character rosters, all the way to free-to-play experiences built around the dark multiverse. Today, I'm going to break down the top 5 newest and most noteworthy DC games as of 2026, focusing primarily on titles that have received official confirmation so you don't get lost in the endless flood of rumors and speculation circulating online. And I'll also be completely honest about which games are genuinely worth your time and which ones are probably better to keep an eye on from a distance. Before we jump into the list, I want to explain how I'm ranking these games. I'm not ranking them based on review scores because not every title on this list has received a full critical evaluation yet. Instead, I'm ranking them using a combination of 3 factors. First, how new the game is and how important it is to the future of the DC franchise. Second, the overall scale and ambition of the project itself. And third, how accessible the game is to different types of players. Using those criteria, this is what my list looks like. Oming in at number 5 is DC Heroes United. This is one of the newest DC games currently listed by DC as part of its recent titles lineup, having launched in 2024 and still appearing among the franchise's officially recognized games. I have to be honest here, out of all 5 games on today's list, this is the one I have the least amount of detailed official information on. Because of that, I'm not going to go too deep into areas that can't be properly verified. What I can confidently say is that it deserves a place on this list simply because it represents the newer generation of DC gaming projects. And if you're a DC fan who wants a broader understanding of everything the franchise is currently doing in the gaming space, then DC Heroes United is definitely a title worth knowing about. That said, when it comes to overall visibility, community discussion, and mainstream interest, the other 4 games on today's list are generating significantly more attention. Oming in at number 4 is Batman Arkham Shadow. The Arkham brand has always carried a special weight among both DC fans and the broader gaming community because Rocksteady's original Arkham trilogy is widely regarded as one of the greatest superhero game franchises ever made. Arkham Shadow launched in 2024 and continues to build on that legacy, carrying the Arkham name that has become synonymous with quality in the minds of many players. The fact that DC continues to list it among the franchise's recent titles shows that they consider it an important part of the current DC gaming ecosystem. If you're someone who played and loved the original Arkham games, then Arkham Shadow is definitely a title worth looking into. And honestly, even when standing next to newer releases, simply having the word Arkham in the title brings a level of legacy and expectation that very few superhero games can match. Oming in at number 3 is DC Dark Legion, and this is honestly one of the most interesting titles on this list if you're a fan of DC storytelling in general. It's a free-to-play mobile strategy game built around a dark multiverse invasion, a concept that feels incredibly DC, with forces from the darkest realities across the multiverse descending upon Gotham. Players recruit and upgrade more than 50 DC heroes and villains, build teams, and participate in PvP and multiplayer modes as they fight to protect the city. What earns Dark Legion the number 3 spot isn't necessarily its scale, but rather the combination of the dark multiverse setting, one of the most beloved storylines among hardcore DC fans, and a free-to-play structure that makes it accessible to almost everyone. If you enjoy collecting a massive roster of DC characters and facing twisted evil versions of iconic heroes, then Dark Legion is definitely a game worth trying, especially since it costs nothing to get started. That said, if your goal is to become powerful enough to compete at the highest levels and push for top rankings, then it follows the same reality as many other free-to-play games. You'll usually need to spend a significant amount of money to stay competitive. Because of that, having a solid strategy becomes extremely important. Things like building efficient teams, knowing which heroes are actually worth pulling, and managing your resources properly can save you a huge amount of time and money. I've already made a lot of videos covering this game in detail, so if you want more advanced guides and deeper discussions, be sure to check out my channel for additional DC Dark Legion content. I'll leave the playlist link in the pinned comment. Oming in at number 2 is DC Worlds Collide. And this is a game that I honestly think is still underrated within the DC gaming community. The game draws direct inspiration from 2 major DC storylines, Trinity War and Forever Evil, with the crime syndicate from a parallel universe invading Earth. If you've read the comics, then you already know that the crime syndicate is essentially the evil counterpart to the Justice League, meaning you'll be facing characters like Ultraman, Owlman, Superwoman, and other dark reflections of some of DC's most iconic heroes. When it comes to gameplay, DC Worlds Collide features strategic 3D battles and launched with more than 70 playable characters right from day one. The game also includes 5v5 PvP modes, boss battles, solo content, and regular live events. Having over 70 characters available at launch is an incredibly impressive number, and shows just how ambitious the project is when it comes to serving both hero fans and villain fans alike. The reason I placed Worlds Collide at number 2 instead of number 1 is because it is still fundamentally a live service hero collector game. That means its long-term success will depend heavily on the quality of future updates, content releases, and balance adjustments after launch. However, looking at the overall DC gaming landscape in 2026, this is probably one of the most accessible titles available for mobile players and fans who enjoy building teams and collecting characters. And thanks to the Trinity War and Forever Evil story foundations, it offers much more than a simple hero collector experience. It has a strong narrative backbone that can keep lore-focused players invested for a long time. And just like Dark Legion, this is also a free-to-play game. I've personally played it myself, and one thing I noticed is that the early game experience is surprisingly generous when it comes to obtaining characters. So if you're someone who loves collecting DC heroes and villains, this is definitely a game worth checking out. And taking the number 1 spot is LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. I know that when many people hear the word LEGO, their first reaction is to assume it's a game made primarily for children and immediately dismiss it. But I want you to hear this analysis before jumping to that conclusion. Legacy of the Dark Knight launched on May 22nd, 2026 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. As of now, it is the newest LEGO Batman game and arguably the biggest DC gaming release of 2026 in terms of overall scale and ambition. Developed by TT Games, the title follows Batman's journey from his early years as a young Bruce Wayne, all the way to becoming the legendary protector of Gotham, all presented through a true open-world action-adventure experience with a fully developed story. Some of the most heavily emphasized features in the official descriptions include a completely new combat system, stealth mechanics, gadget-based gameplay, and the ability to drive both the Batmobile and Batcycle throughout an open Gotham City that players can freely explore. The game also supports both single-player and couch co-op modes. This is one aspect that I find particularly noteworthy because couch co-op has become increasingly rare in modern gaming. The decision to include it reflects a design philosophy focused on creating an experience that can be shared with friends, family members, or anyone sitting right beside you. The reason LEGO Batman takes the number 1 spot on this list isn't simply because it's the newest game chronologically. It's because Batman has consistently been DC's strongest gaming IP for decades, and an open-world Batman game that tells the complete journey from Bruce Wayne's youth to Gotham's greatest legend has the potential to appeal to both longtime fans and an entirely new generation of players. LEGO has already proven many times that its games are not limited to any specific age group. And if TT Games can successfully combine that accessibility with meaningful gameplay depth and a compelling story, then Legacy of the Dark Knight could very well become the defining DC game of 2026. Before we get to the number 1 spot, I want to give an honorable mention to a game that didn't make the top 5, but still deserves to be talked about: DC Universe Online. This isn't a new game by any means, but it's still receiving active support and regular content updates, with its latest major update being Shadows over Argo. In an era where many live service games shut down after only a few years, the fact that DC Universe Online is still running and still receiving meaningful new content after such a long lifespan is genuinely impressive. More importantly, it's one of the clearest examples that the DC gaming space is far from dead. The game continues to maintain a dedicated player base, ongoing development support, and a steady stream of content, something that very few online superhero games have managed to achieve over the long term. Whether you actively play it or not, DC Universe Online remains an important part of DC's gaming history, and a reminder that successful DC games can continue thriving for years when they're properly supported. Looking at the bigger picture, the DC gaming landscape in 2026 is genuinely diverse. You have everything from large-scale open-world projects like LEGO Batman to strategic 3D experiences like Worlds Collide, free-to-play mobile games like Dark Legion, and even VR and long-running live service titles. The big question is whether any of these games can truly stand alongside the legacy of the Arkham series. And honestly, I think that's something we'll have to wait and see. LEGO Batman certainly has the potential to reach that level in terms of scale and ambition. But when it comes to actual quality, that's a question only players will be able to answer once the game is finally released. So, what do you think about this list? Which DC game are you personally looking forward to the most? And which game do you think deserves a mention that I may have overlooked? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.